I wonder if you had ever worried if quantum computers are a real threat to cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum. Because I really hadn't before I read the news. And the news that I'm mentioning is that there is a new quantum chip from Microsoft called Majorana 1. This was announced on February 19th, 2025. And it's not a fully fledged quantum computer, Majorana 1, but it means that the development of fully fledged quantum computers is not going to take decades as we thought previously, but it might as well come in a couple of years. And this is quite threatening because if it's been 20 to 40 years, the frontier for getting fully fledged quantum computers, that would have been fine. But now with the frontier being maybe 3 to 5 or 7 years, that definitely changes the picture. And let's look if this is really a threat and if there is something that can be done about it. Alright, we have to start with the basic of cryptocurrencies, which is the current state of their cryptography. And in most cryptocurrencies, there is a public key and a private key. And the public key is sort of your email address, and the private key is sort of your password. Public address is used for you to receive money from outsiders, such as it's similar to your email address. And the private key is very similar to your password of, let's say, your email address. It is used for you to sign transactions to send money from this address. And now the reason why quantum computers are a problem is because in theory, they are linked together. The private and the public keys are linked together. So this means that mathematically, you can derive one from the other. So it means that in theory, mathematically, there is a mathematical algorithm that allows you to transform your public key, your email address, into a private key, which is your password. And this should make you worry. Why do people not get worried about it? It's because it's in theory possible, but in practice it's quite impossible because you need huge computational power. So you need a lot of computation in order to achieve this. And with the current state of technology, with the current state of computers, this is not possible. It remains theory and not practice. You just need an enormous computational power to achieve this translation from a public key to a private key. Now you get, maybe if you know what quantum computers are, you get why this new discovery from Microsoft is a problem. Because quantum computers, let's leave them as a black box. To understand what quantum computer is, it's important to understand what it brings. It brings huge computational power. It offers completely different computer architecture, and it allows you to achieve enormous computational power. And this is a problem for cryptography, because what has been just mathematical theory now can actually become reality, because now this, in theory, you can derive the private key from the public key, actually becomes reality because you have the computational power to make all the computational steps through the algorithm and find the private key from the public key. Something that now everyone would laugh and say you need just an enormous computational power and there's no computer in the world, no electricity, and it would take eternity, and it's just impossible because you don't have the computer, you don't have the electricity, and you don't have the time to compute it. But quantum computers are going to change this. They're going to break the algorithm because you can now deploy this huge computational power and you can compute, you can brute force compute this transformation from a public to a private key, from your email to your password. All right, and this gets me worried. This honestly gets me worried because Microsoft is saying we can do this, and we thought this is doable in decades, but now with our discovery, we should be able to have a fully fledged quantum computer in a couple of years. And this definitely should also get you worried, unless you do the research and you find what I found. There is also post-quantum cryptography, which means that there are algorithms that are also not breakable for quantum computers. And this is because mathematically they make it impossible to mathematically transform the public key into a private key. There are a whole family of these algorithms in the post-quantum cryptography which actually solve this problem. Mathematically, it is possible to make cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum can become quantum computer proof. They can become stable and resilient against quantum computer hacker attacks. But then the problem is that these algorithms have to be implemented in the cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's a problem because cryptocurrencies are decentralized. There is no central authority, there is no central company, there is no CEO who can take the decision and then the algorithm will be implemented. The whole community in the case of cryptocurrencies has to agree that this is going to be implemented. That this sort of software update, which is called in cryptocurrencies, is called a fork, that this is going to be implemented. There also, the developers should make this implementation, because this is just mathematically we know that there are these algorithms, but it should be translated into code. Someone has to program it. So the developers should be active in something that it's decentralized. There is no company with employees in the case of these cryptocurrencies. So you need proactive developers which have no manager or boss who is giving them orders or is taking the decisions. So you have to have the community getting coordinated for the developers to implement the solution and for the whole community of decentralized entities called nodes to agree on this implementation and to start using this implementation. All right, the bottom line is, in the beginning I was worried that we don't have the technology to fight back the quantum threat to cryptocurrencies, but you should already have been hopefully convinced that this is not the case. We do have the technology, so this is less of a worry. It's the bigger threat is actually the execution and the social aspect of it, because the whole community has to coordinate itself without being centralized in a decentralized manner to really organize itself and go the right way. Although it might be that we don't have decades to take these decisions and to go into the right way. And it might be that the community has to be very agile in order to prevent this threat. And so this is the big if, this is the million, billion or $trillion question, is if the community is gonna make it on time. And let me know in the comments what you think, and if you think what you think is the biggest threat to cryptocurrencies. I think that this is as I said, the social and the aspect of execution and organization of this decentralized community. And on the positive side, if this happens, cryptocurrencies can actually thrive in the quantum age, because the computational power that quantum computers unlock through this technology is actually going to be beneficial for cryptocurrencies. If you like the video, hit the like button and follow for more, and let me know what you think about the quantum threat to cryptocurrencies and what the biggest problem might be in the comments.